Good morning. What's up, Mike? Interesting day here. What's going on, brother? Alright. About 5 minutes until we have news, so we're just waiting for that. And then we'll see what we can get. If we don't clear the sell side before that, I'd like to see that sell side get cleared. Revisit this first presented here from Wednesday. So we clear the all-time high. We displace below the breaker. We hold the bearish breaker with the volume imbalance as well. And now we've displaced lower again. Yeah, so 10 o'clock, the 15-minute here will close, giving us a better indication. We assume this will become a market structure shift. Should close below that low. On the 1 minute sense, we've actually gone ahead and used that fair value gap already. So let's say that we close here at 10 o'clock. Wouldn't mind a retest of this area. So the old low, this original fair value gap. We would look for a retest of that, and then another sell-off. Conversely, let's say that we engage this sell side first and give some type of longing opportunity. Then we'll be a little bit more fluid and look for a return up into that. So we've already actually cleared that sell side. And we've hit the first presented. So from here, we'll just wait and see what we get as we head into the opening. Let's say we displace below this fair value gap, we'd actually look for yesterday's low. So we'll look for price to stay heavy now here. We've held the first presented up here already. Rejected off the rejection block. 930 holds first presented as well, so kind of unwilling to run higher. Right, we've left today's first presented open. Just adding another layer of sell side up here if we end up falling. Another target. Okay, we'll see how we open at 10. Honestly, this fair value gap here has my attention already. So as we clear that sell side, we displace through it. We leave a volume imbalance fair value gap combo. Currently sitting at our 1 hour fair value gap high. But if we're going to want to continue to fall, we should just use the most recent fair value gap. Or this wick here. As we often say, when we create swing low wicks, give retracements into premiums, and then break through those wicks, those will often act as gaps as well. 2 pairs of volume imbalances inside. So this kind of would be like that last resort if we're going to want to hold from the most recent premium. Of course, high impact news can easily slide right through these. Right, we're still looking up here if we're going to get more of an aggressive run higher. Okay. So far looking like we're going to want to hold that as we're mentioning here. As you said, 10 o'clock though, can really do whatever. So not much to do before that. A few more seconds. So right up into the wick, clear the low. Two-sided action. Still up NQ here as well, just so we can kind of follow that. Pretty much in the same spot. First presented as well here. So we're actually underneath it in NQ, which would leave us to actually expect to run bearish and try to clear that low. If we invert that, however, that'll kind of be that bullish setup we're talking about. Same thing here. We said we've engaged this sell side. We actually cleared the short-term low as well, delivering into a 5-minute fair value gap. And we're still holding the first presented with the bodies. So at this point, we're going to watch and see first if we end up inverting this fair value gap. That'll be kind of the first trigger. We close above this, we then would expect to try to reach above and through this wick, clearing both of these volume imbalances that we've created on the way down. Really the higher one. So since we're already here, right, that's the one that's going to be of issue. So we're going to pay attention to that. We would expect to see this act as an inversion if we're going to start running bullish and want to retest this fair value gap. Even today's first presented that was left untouched. We could see price trying to hold this inversion. It'll try to close above the volume imbalance. If we're going to stay heavy and actually want to continue for sell side, however, volume imbalance should try to hold us and we'll reclaim this bearish fair value gap. So at this point, pretty much focusing on this fair value gap here, trying to see how the candle's going to close. As we said, if we end up holding this volume imbalance close below this fair value gap, and especially close below the original sell side here, that's what we're hitting, we would look for this low to be taken again. As you mentioned, NQ, right underneath that first presented. Same idea. We close above it. If we immediately reject, close back below, we would expect to use it as resistance to try to clear this low or come for this first presented down here. ES give the same thing. We close below the fair value gap and the sell side. So at this point, we're going to watch and see, does this area offer us resistance? Right. We should try to hold here unless we're going to stay choppy after opening. We should try to make one more pass for a low. Got some more higher time frame inefficiencies as well, potentially the 4-hour. Although we did get below the sell side, we still need to get below first presented, so that'll be the next stop. But so far that's holding. That could hold us as long as it wants. So now that we've gotten below the fair value gap and the sell side, as we say, closure below first presented just confirms the sell-off that we would expect to try to clear this low. This candle has revisited the low, so now we'll continue to see if it wants to move lower. What we'll often see if we're going to hit the low is that the high now will offer us resistance, or that'll be the sensitive area. So if we're going to close below the midpoint, hit the low, a retracement into the high should be met with, nice, that little sell-off there. So there's one more stab. We pick up that short-term low. At this point, however, no follow-through. We need closure below. NQ has not cleared that. We'll look for NQ to catch up, see if ES wants to close below. We close below this wick. This sell side will be our area of interest next. Cool. So far, going as expected. We like that. We use that first presented in NQ beautifully. First presented into first presented here. Sell side as well, right into the low. So we'll look for that to continue. We close below that level. Let's see if we leave an inefficiency. If we leave a fair value gap as we break through the low, that should hold as well. Continue to deliver into sell side. Nice. So that'll be met. We still do have one more large wick we could aim for here. So we cleared Wednesday's low. We'll look for Tuesday's low here. Cool. Leave that fair value gap open. Notice we close below the sell side, so once again, closure below, more indicative of continued price delivery in the continued direction. So if we're going to see price continue to sell off, it will close below liquidity. That's what we just got. Right away, we'll probably use that as resistance. If we're going to want to create another fair value gap, right, we created this one right where we would expect. If we're going to want to create another one, the sell side will hold this next candle body and will just continue to fall. Right, if we stay heavy, we leave these as kind of breakaway gaps. We don't revisit higher fair value gaps up here. Cool, you're just dumping. So we'll see if we continue. If we come back into this at this point, this sell side, this fair value gap, we would expect that to be met with continued resistance, obviously heavy. We have another sell side objective we can reach for. We actually close below what first presented here as well. So same idea, right? As we start invalidating these old discounts, we would expect them to turn into premiums that hold price and continue to send it lower. So now we're looking here pretty much. Another fair value gap will probably be created here as we hold at the first presented. As we said, we hold that first presented there, same in NQ. A retracement into that is what we would expect to try to hold at this point. See if we just stay heavy until we reach that sell side objective pretty much. Okay, so we'll have a 5-minute here as well. As we said, we can see a retracement. We fell short of this sell side. We expect that to be the target. So on a higher time frame, pretty much this wick high and wick low, we had news there. That's the data. So we've already engaged the highs of it. Right, we've closed above that. We should have ran bullish if we wanted to. Instead, we displaced back into the range. Notice how we use the high of that perfectly to reject. And now we've closed below midpoint and used that as resistance. So that would lead us to believe it's going to want to reach for the low, which would align nicely with that sell side there. That will become our objective. At this point, it seems like it won't even give a retracement. So we'll just look for it to continue to slide, fall, stay heavy. We engage this. That'll be, as we said, Wednesday's low. It's going to be a daily swing. From here, we'll see if we can't actually go ahead and maybe return into some of these open inefficiencies now. So we'll look for more of a reversal at that point, kind of into equilibrium of this range, rather than continuing to fall. If we get what we've been getting here, though, we're like we just displace right through that sell side without really regarding it at all, then we might stay heavy and continue to reach for some of these lows in here, this original consolidation. I'd like to see where our standard deviations are. Okay. Yeah, so off the open, we've been extremely bearish. Half standard deviation already met. We could see one standard then, if we're going to stay super heavy. So far, as we're saying, that first presented here is holding us. We do have a 2-minute fair value gap now, paired with the old sell side. As we trade up into that, we would expect that to try to hold price. Revisiting, we'll see if we get above. Clear the short-term low, so as we said, if we want to start reversing, we're going to watch for that around this area. A lot of fair value gaps here, higher time frame. Oh, where's our low? A little consolidation. We would tend to believe this is going to chop, run into either the sell side or the premium here, picking up the short-term high, and then fall into the sell side. So in my mind, we're trying to bait longs here. Consolidate just above a major pool of liquidity. Give a false run higher into some of these premiums that we have left and created. Hold from there, and then attack this low to actually clear that sell side, that daily swing point. Okay, and Q actually picked up that low. We'll see if we close below that or if we wick. Very small SMT here, not really worth putting much emphasis on it. Might just leave that. If we end up leaving that, I'd rather like us, after engaging this liquidity, to try to reverse and get a short-term run up into these fair value gaps that we've left open. At this point, just waiting for that sell side. And Q has just cleared that level with this spike here. So real quick, just to show. Right, that same kind of wick low that we had created here has now been picked up in NQ. So at this point, we can start actually watching for potential SMT if we start breaking higher. Right, with us picking up this daily low and falling short here in ES. Our attention will go here. If we're going to start breaking higher, we need to first invert this most recent fair value gap. immediate rebounds here in NQ. That's a midnight open as well. We still have been unable to get above first presented, so we still could go lower. Right, even though NQ did clear that low, we could get one more stab. It was pretty shallow. So we'll see if NQ wants to clear that low, let ES run into this low. Kind of erase the SMT we created. Still can't get that low. Rejection block here. See if that's going to try to hold NQ at all. Nice, we get one more stab. Let's see if we can't get the actual sell side and ES now. At this point, if we're going to want to see the reversal following the sell side, we'd actually want to try to leave some type of fair value gap here before engaging with the sell side. So we can pick up the sell side and then invert that fair value gap. That'll be kind of the indication to go long at that point. As you said, NQ picked up the short-term low. Just a wick, however. We'll see if it wants to flip. Seeing if we can't form a fair value gap here, though. Alright, we'll see if we invert this. We wanted to pick up that sell side, but we did pick up this low. Ideally, we hold this and run this low and clear the daily swing point. If we straight invert that, that could be a setup, especially if we were to close below this down close candle here. We just don't feel comfortable with how close we're getting to that daily low. Right, in my mind, we're kind of trying to, as we say, bait longs here before one last swipe into this liquidity, and then we feel the real move will occur after we clear that, if it's going to be the objective. We did invert it. Okay, we'll see if we're going to want to use it right away. Here in ES, just consolidating around its midnight level. Still, we need to get above this first percent. That'll be the true kind of flip for us. All right, we've been stuck below it. We would expect to try to hold this. If we're going to start going bullish, we'll try to hold the inversion first and then get above that first presented. So really, we need to get above both of these. All right, this one is just a start. This one would be the true kind of break in structure for us to look for a run higher. Equal highs here. See if we end up holding it or falling through it. We held it the first time. Liquidity void, however, if that stays open bearish and we close below that fair value gap, we would look for the low. Ooh, we hold that. Okay, if this becomes a swing low, this will be an intermediate swing. So we may actually leave this sell side for now. We're going to watch and see if we run back into as we hit first presented here again. We'll see if we close above or not. Retested previous day's low perfectly there. Midpoint of that first presented as well. We'll see if that rejects. So far we are holding midpoint here. We leave this open, we expect that to hold. As we said, right, short-term low cleared here, displacement through the high. Down close candles anchored to that as well, right on its midpoint pretty much. So we'll look for that, we'll look for E or NQ to get through the high of this. We have a first presented in here. We'll test the actual high of this one though. Closure above, okay. So we would expect this fair value gap to try to hold price if we're going to trade back into it. In NQ, we've closed above first presented and previous day's low. That should be the area that respects price as well. Same fair value gap. So at this point, we're looking for now the bullish run into inefficiency here. And we'll actually look for midpoint of this range with the idea that we're going to leave this sell side for another time. With NQ picking up the sell side as well. So this original fair value gap here can become the target. We invert this fair value gap. If we're going to retrace, this one should hold. So inside that fair value gap in both, as we said, we would want to see it hold from there. That would be the expectation if we're going to start putting in bullish price delivery. First presented as there as well in ES. And Q actually did get back below its first presented, but to us that's a little false move. So we would still expect it to run higher from here. Right, we hit that 2 minute or the 5 minute. We want to see one more expansion. Do we get midpoint? We're just short of midpoint, consequent encroachment here, so we could see this low be ran out if we want to. Pick up that low, hit midpoint, and then look for the rejection. NQ already trying to move away from its fair value gap. But this is a 2 minute as well, so that's what I'm saying. We could run that real quick, pick up the short-term low, revisit the 2 minute fair value gap, hit midpoint of the 1 minute itself, and then look for the expansion. That'll actually be the open of this candlestick too as well. So perfectly there. displacement through this fair value gap, our attention goes back towards the sell side here. Playing right at that midpoint. We have equal lows there. We didn't actually pick up that low. We expect to pick up that low first before we run. Volume imbalance created after the short-term low as we displace through the high. If we needed to retrace, to me that was going to be like the last line of defense to where we could wick into that, but we wouldn't want to see closure below that. If we do, as we say, our attention would go right back towards sell side here, and then we'll look for sell side to be cleared. And from there, I still would favor a potential run. Now that we did clear these highs though, if we do displace and close below the sell side, that will lead to continued sell-off, right? Because we've already given the retracement. So it looks like we'll want to come back for this low. Nice, nice. Revisiting just some higher time frame. We'll see if this stays as an intermediate swing point. If we're going to go bullish, this would have to turn into no wick to the downside, reclaim the volume imbalance here. So we close below this original fair value gap, the original bearish, reclaiming it bearish, and up below the volume imbalance at the same time. That's going to hold price and send it lower. Only way to negate that is if this candle that opens with the bearish volume imbalance runs completely bullish with no wick to its downside, closing back above both the volume imbalance and the fair value gap. That'll negate this previous candle's actions. From there though, we're still going to have this as an inversion. So even if we were able to close above both of those, we're going to leave a bearish fair value gap here paired with an inversion. That'll be another strong premium. So a few premiums we might get stuck at here now, which is why we're looking for this low, especially if this turns bearish at all. So we do get above midpoint. We're holding the volume imbalance, however, and we've created a bearish fair value gap perfectly aligned with this inversion. To us, that's going to try to send price lower. So we would pretty much need to disregard this in one swoop. If we spend any time even respecting that, we would expect to hold from there, fall through these lows. Equal lows here, right? We noticed that as well, so. There's the retest. As we said, this is kind of where we would expect to break lower if we're going to fall. Same fair value gap at NQ. So far, yep, holding that. That becomes a swing high. We'll look for next candle to run out the low. We closed above the bearish, but still that volume balance holding aggressively. So same idea here in NQ, mitigation block. Fair value gap. We do have the first presented, so it could even retest that and hold. Same idea in ES, right? They're both underneath now a first presented fair value gap that's anchored inside of a 1 minute. So if we are going to want to get bullish, we need to clear both of those, with ideally large expansion that just runs. Need to try to reclaim the bullish here. Nice. Cool. So you said it all starts here with this down close candle being able, or this candle being able to go no wick back to back. At this point though, if we're going to create this displacement to get back above these areas, a retest of that needs to be met with support, or else we're probably just going to stay choppy here for the remainder of the morning session. That would kind of be our guess. So we pretty much want to see this lift off from here. Now that we've gotten back above, use that first presented as support, use the inversion as support in NQ. We've also gotten above its first presented again as well, and previous days low. So we want both of these areas to find support, accelerate us into the fair value gap here. We are holding perfectly at our previous day's low here. Well, that's what we're running into there. Closure above that, we should get release into at least this inefficiency here. After creating a wick like this, a long wick that revisits an old discount, we don't really want to see price clearing that wick now. So we do have a small fair value gap in here that price may need to revisit, but if it's going to, we want to see another wick. Ideally, we just leave that open though. So we're looking for it to be a breakaway gap, this very small one here. Notice that the midpoint is midpoint of the original 1 minute. So we'd like for this to actually be done. No need to revisit that. Instead, close above the old liquidity and then continue to try to run. But once again, you see that perfect delivery there. Algorithmic delivery in action. NQ is holding that, so we'd want that to hold. We don't want to keep retracing. Yeah, that's just sloppy delivery here. High resistance, too many retracements, right? I mean, hard to argue that precision right there. I mean, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4 straight candles, laser precision right on the old liquidity. We get above that, that's going to be our flip point to accelerate. That's nice and all, but needs closure. This could simply be a wick of this high followed by rejection. So the speed is nice, but it's only nice if it's maintained and met with continued bullishness that will close above swing points. To then get us here, and then I like first presented as well, but this will be like low-hanging fruit for entry. So if we can get there, we'll just take that low barrier. Expectation is we get into first presented, so it's only a few handles, right? No need to be greedy for that. All depends on closure above. Beautiful. So not only do we displace perfectly above the sell side, we close above the old high. Only issue is bearish volume imbalance. So these are often those negation candles that can prevent or negate this candle's action. What we would need to see here is for the sell side to become support. So it holds us perfectly multiple times. We displace above it. We immediately retest it. That would need to be met with resist or support, right? That sends price higher now. So we want to find support here at the old liquidity. We want that to be a discount that will hold price now and send it higher after it was keeping it right lower. Those flip points that we talk about. Ideally, after testing this, we actually hold above this high as well. That would be best case scenario. So we revisit the sell side, we close above the actual swing point. Beautiful. Unfortunately, again, another bearish volume imbalance. So we'll expect the same thing, right? It's very sloppy delivery, as we can already see. So we're expecting higher resistance, multiple retests, but same idea. We retest this, that should be met with quick support that sends price higher. We're still looking to close above this original liquidity here. At this point, we'll move the sell side and we'll just look at the down close candle that's anchored to it. That's what we want to hold here. As you said, we want this to be a breakaway gap until we get into this inefficiency. That would be ideal. Don't want to see us coming back into this, because then as we say, I think we'll probably either just stay here range bound or we'll invert it and actually try to come for this sell side one more time. Previously high there as well. Well, that's why we have that. So that already is kind of, we don't like that. We would want to see pretty much what happened here. No wick to the downside. Get right back above this down close candle. Ideally above this and reclaim the market structure shift. Notice that we left a bearish volume imbalance here paired with that. So as we hit that, we can reject just as we see now, but we need to close above that and reach for this inefficiency here. Same idea in NQ, we left that volume imbalance. So two premiums in NQ and ES that may try to hold price. We would look for, however, no wick to the downside, full expansion, hit that fair value gap, get above the volume imbalance. Right now, pretty much a line in the sand, right, hitting the wall, unable to get above that. It's also anchored to this bearish fair value gap as well. So aside from the actual 1 minute structure, we're still inside of a premium. That's why we got stuck in the first place. So we're holding the midpoint. I want to see us get above that midpoint. Once again, that'll be a good indication we can continue to run. As of now, we reject from there. That's pretty gross. We close back underneath previous day's low. We need to get above previous day's low here. Let's move some of these a little cleaner. So we want that to be a breakaway. We've already respected this here. We want the expansion. Right through midpoint, closure above, get us into this inefficiency. As you said, we do like first presented, but we'll just go low hanging fruit. We're just going to close there. It's a 1 minute, it's a 2 minute. If we can get that, that's what we'll get out. NQ blasts through the high, beautiful. Let's see if it can maintain that. Holding the low of that first presented nicely. What we would not want to see though is this to wick. So we want to actually close above this, especially because ES was unable to clear that high. We don't want S&T there. We'd rather see a nice, clean follow through. We close right on that level. No, we did close one tick above it. Okay, so if we're going to close one tick above it, we want to use it as support immediately. We want to see this candle keep its body above it. We don't want to come back into this range. As we said, ES did wick that. It also closed above midpoint, so same idea in both, using different PD arrays. Midpoint here, hold high here. We want both of these levels to give support and deliver into this higher inefficiency. In NQ, we already are inside of this inefficiency we're looking to reach in ES, right? It's this one here. So in NQ, we just pretty much want to see that be closed in. Since we already are hitting it, NQ is not hitting it, we're going to need it to go a little bit more, so the high of it is what that's what we would want to see be met to allow ES to try to get outside of this fair value gap here. So at this point, we want to see that expansion. Our stop is at break even from our entry here inside midpoint. So no risk at all. It's just a matter of if we can leave this fair value gap. Maybe we just, that's one handle. There's no need for that. We'll just close at the high of this. We won't be too greedy. So if we can run this high, we'll be out. We're getting a little bit sketchy here with NQ hitting that midpoint perfectly. We could see a rejection here if that becomes a swing high. Ideally, we give one more candle that could punch through that. And as we said, the final target's here. One handle is really minuscule. There's no need to fight for that. We'll just get out when we can. Cool. We're out there. So we're out. We'll probably still come into this. But for us, we're done. we'll take a quick look at what we did today. Where is, oh, okay, cool. So first here in ES, I mean, that was just pretty textbook what we called out there, right? As we said, we would have liked to see this sell side be cleared, but NQ actually ran that low out and these lows. So we had SMT at the lows. ES runs this low, then displaces back above the order block. But that's a textbook long situation there. Short-term low cleared, displacement through the high, fair value gap left behind, inversion supported prior to the break instruction. So as soon as we see that, and as soon as we close above this candlestick, that becomes our area of entry. We just used its opening price. So we ended up low ticking this candle here. We would have been able to catch a swing low, unfortunately, but we get too good of an entry on that one. So we enter there, and now we exit. As we said, we're aiming for this inefficiency, so we would have had a nice swing high exit there. Instead, we just closed at the high of this candle. So pretty much low tick the candle here, high tick the candle there, and call it a day in that, in ES. NQ as well, same idea. Right, we added a position here as we traded into this low, into this down close candle. Because we opened with this volume imbalance, I did close one as we ran into that sell side just in case we were going to break. Once we actually confirmed that we held that, we displaced back above the liquidity void. I'm adding another one as we trade down into our midnight open here. Right, so this and then Q, nice as well. 2 entries there. 2 off one, we sell one, we add that one back at midnight, and then we close at the high of the first presented here before we get the retracement. Obviously, we retested it and ran again, but pretty much catch the swing low up to the swing high. And we catch the actual swing low of the morning there in NQ. So yeah, overall, nice morning. Right, we'll leave it at that. We'll be done. There's not really too much more to do. Last day of August, last day of the week. No need to sit around and give back profits that we've made. So that'll be all. There's no questions. We'll go ahead and wrap it up. Appreciate y'all hanging out this morning. A little shorter one, but that's just the reality of trading. Right, once we get our setup, we execute, and we call it a day. Let's see what else I got. Yeah, at this point, I really don't hold any other bias, so it'd be nice if we wanted to clear that low here, especially because we are creating that stair step of delivery. We often speak of a lot of higher lows being created in here. So let's say that we did like come up into this first presented break structure, then maybe we could see a follow through to try to actually clear that low before the day ends. But overall, we'll leave that for others. So yeah, hope you guys found that helpful. Appreciate y'all hanging out this morning, even if it was a little short one, but once you get your money, call it a day. So yeah, we'll leave it there. We'll be back on Monday for those in the Discord. Let me just double check what time we have news and things like that. So no news on Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday news though, NFP next week. So yeah, for the Discord members, we'll just be back Monday morning, 9:25 Eastern. Just a simple stream without any news. So we'll see what we can get to start the week. But until then, have a great afternoon, everybody. Have a great weekend. And for those in the Discord, we will talk on Monday morning. See you guys then.